This episode is brought to you by Business Link. Uh, Imagine a massive multi-lane commercial highway. It's completely empty, right?
Right.
But it's running right alongside this brand new $1.6 billion mega mall.
Yeah, which makes absolutely no sense.
Exactly. But that is essentially what is happening right now in the Great Lakes shipping corridor. Welcome to today's deep dive. We are going through a stack of notes from the Niagara Industrial Association membership meeting, which actually just took place yesterday, June 4, 2026, in Port Colborne.
Yeah, and I mean, at first glance, a regional industrial meeting might sound, incredibly niche to some people.
Well, for sure.
But what is happening in the Niagara region is it acts as this fascinating microcosm for these massive global shifts we're seeing.
So whether you work in tech or, whether you're in education or maybe you run a small business, what they are doing in Niagara is literally a live blueprint for how industries survive and adapt in real time.
It really is a perfect testing ground because, we spend so much time looking at global macroeconomic trends.
Right, the big picture stuff.
Yeah, things like supply chain restructuring, the sudden push for automation, or the severe talent crunch. And it is so easy to feel overwhelmed by the abstraction of it all.
Yeah, it just becomes buzzwords after a while.
Exactly. But when you look at one specific region that is actively tackling these issues, all that abstraction strips away. You get to actually see the mechanics of adaptation right there on the ground.
Yeah, as I was reading through these meeting notes, I kept thinking of it like a crystal ball.
Oh, I like that.
You look into this one specific gathering in Port Colborne, and suddenly you can see how local physical infrastructure, modern education, and global supply chains are they're all colliding.
And our goal today is to pull apart those interconnected strategies. We really need to look at everything from predictive maintenance technology to workforce pipelines and understand how those elements combine to turn a localized region into, well, an advanced manufacturing hub.
Right.
Because it requires this synthesis of highly disparate moving parts. It's not just one thing.
No, definitely not. So let's start with the evolution of industry itself, anchored to one specific story from the keynote presentation.
Okay, yeah.
The meeting was hosted at a company called Allied Marine and Industrial, or AMI, right there at their Port Colborne facility. And their president, Robert McArthur, he outlined their trajectory.
Which is pretty remarkable, really.
It is. They were founded back in 1997, operating essentially as just a traditional marine repair and industrial service provider.
Just standard break fix kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But their current operations are completely shifting toward high-tech, proactive maintenance and this really broad systems-level support.
Right, and moving away from the traditional break fix model, I mean, that is a matter of pure survival in modern manufacturing and logistics right now.
How so? Like, what's the driver there?
Well, in the industrial world, and especially in the maritime sector, which AMI supports, downtime is catastrophically expensive.
I bet.
If a massive freighter is stuck in a canal because of, say, a failed engine component, the shipping company isn't just paying for the repair itself.
They're paying for all the lost time.
Exactly. They are bleeding tens of thousands of dollars by the hour in lost shipping time and missing crucial supply chain windows. It's a domino effect.
It's like going from a mechanic who only fixes your broken down car to a high-tech doctor who uses data to tell you what vitamins to take so you never break down in the first place.
That is a brilliant way to put it.
And AMI is looking at massive growth based on this model. The notes mention they are undertaking a 23,000 square foot expansion in Port Colborne alone.
Wow. That's huge.
It is. But on top of that, they're opening new facilities in Houston and Panama. They're building an advanced fuels maintenance facility, a high-tech engine training center, and they're even getting into power plant development.
Yeah, they are not playing small.
No. Plus, they are heavily investing in automation, specifically robotic welding.
And the mechanics of that entire shift are driven by data. By moving to predictive maintenance, AMI is utilizing things like vibration sensors, thermal imaging, and continuous data monitoring to basically replace parts months before they actually fail.
So they see the failure coming before it happens.
Exactly. They are selling uninterrupted reliability to their clients rather than just, selling replacement parts.
Another piece of their strategy that really stood out in the meeting notes is their focus on partnering with global companies that currently have a limited Canadian presence.
Yeah, and that is such a smart move. Think about the friction of international expansion from the perspective of a foreign tech or manufacturing firm.
It's got to be a headache.
Oh, it's a nightmare. Breaking into a new national market requires massive capital expenditure. You have to navigate foreign regulations, you have to build new facilities from scratch, and try to hire local talent in a market where you have literally zero brand recognition.
Right, nobody knows who you are.
Exactly. But if AMI acts as a physical beachhead, like a trusted local partner that already has the facilities, the regulatory clearance, and the regional know-how, those global companies can enter the Canadian market with minimal overhead.
Oh, I see. So AMI gets access to world-class global technology to offer their local clients, and then the international companies get this plug-and-play entry into the Great Lakes region.
Exactly. It elevates the capabilities of the entire regional supply chain.
But AMI strategy requires more than just smart software and partnerships, right? It requires moving massive physical objects,
Yes, it does.
which brings up the actual geography they're sitting on. At the meeting, Robert McArthur highlighted the Great Lakes shipping corridor, and he dropped a statistic that honestly blew my mind.
Let me guess. The capacity numbers.
Yes, the canal system right now is operating at only half of its capacity, 50%.
It is a staggering underutilization of a major infrastructural asset.
Why is it so empty?
It comes down to decades of shifting logistics strategies. For the last 40 years, North American supply chains prioritized just-in-time delivery.
Okay.
So they heavily relied on cross-country trucking because, it was flexible and it was fast. The canals were somewhat sidelined for specialized or really heavy bulk cargo.
But that trucking-first model seems to be clashing with what is actually happening right next door, because regional investments in Niagara are booming right
Oh,
now.
absolutely.
The notes highlight this massive $1.6 billion Asahi Kasei battery separator facility that is landing right there in Port Colborne.
Yeah, that's a game changer for the area.
Right. So if the canal's only half full and there's a $1.6 billion battery plant moving in, there's a glaring disconnect. How are they not bridging that gap?
Well, that is the multi-lane highway analogy you brought up earlier.
Yeah.
Marine transport is fundamentally the most energy-efficient and cost-effective way to move bulk goods. When we discuss battery manufacturing, we are talking about incredibly heavy raw materials and massive, dense finished products.
Right. Batteries are not light.
Not at all. Trucking those materials is carbon-intensive, and it's highly expensive. Logistics quickly become the primary cost driver for a facility like Asahi Kasei.
So having an underutilized waterway right next to a billion-dollar manufacturing facility is basically a gold mine.
It is, absolutely. But you can't just drop a megafactory next to a canal and expect specialized cargo ships to magically show up.
Fair point.
Increasing marine transport requires optimized infrastructure. You need the ports to be upgraded with modern cranes to handle highly specialized heavy cargo.
Right. You need the physical tools to load and unload.
Yeah, and you need the proactive maintenance that companies like AMI are offering so the ships don't stall in the waterway. That underutilized waterway holds the potential to drive both regional economic growth and global supply chain efficiency.
But they have to build it out.
Exactly. The region has to physically prepare the ground, or in this case, the ports, to optimize it.
Which means you need people. Because you can build the million-dollar factories, you can dredge the shipping lanes, but if you don't have the people to program AMI's robotic welders or manage Asahi Kasei's complex supply chain logistics, the physical infrastructure is just useless.
It's just expensive metal sitting there. The skilled labor shortage was a dominant theme in a membership meeting for this exact reason. You cannot scale advanced manufacturing without scaling human capital right alongside it.
Well, April Tyrrell, the Associate Dean of the School of Business and Management at Niagara College, presented on how local education is actually responding to this.
And their approach is really interesting.
It is. They're currently running 20 different programs, covering everything from supply chain management to operations. And the defining feature here is that these programs are built with direct input from the industry through these program advisory committees.
Which is crucial.
They're also launching an asynchronous project management graduate certificate for working professionals, and they have an HR management certificate launching in January 2027.
That asynchronous aspect is particularly vital.
Why is that?
Well, it allows professionals who are already embedded in these industrial sectors to upskill without actually leaving the workforce.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it keeps the talent pipeline flowing while simultaneously upgrading it. You don't lose an employee for 2 years while they go back to school.
That makes sense. The notes also detail their capstone projects, where students are working directly with actual organizations, companies like TradeLink International, Wakefield Canada, and Niagara Energy
Right,
Products.
solving real problems.
Yeah, to solve real-world business challenges. And government funding is helping to offset the hiring costs for these co-ops and placements. But um, wait, I actually have to push back on this approach a little bit.
Okay, let's hear it.
Is this actually education, or is it just corporate outsourcing? Like, are we sacrificing a well-rounded academic foundation just so companies like Wakefield Canada can get cheap government-subsidized labor to solve their operational problems?
That's a fair question, but I would argue it is the exact opposite. It is actually rescuing education from becoming obsolete.
Okay, how so?
Consider the traditional educational friction. A student spends 3 or 4 years learning supply chain theory from a textbook.
Right.
They graduate, they get hired, and the company realizes the student has absolutely no idea how modern procurement software works, or how to handle a real-time shipping delay.
Because the textbook was written 5 years ago.
Exactly.
Right.
The company then has to spend 6 months retraining them. What Niagara College is building is a closed-loop ecosystem.
Walk me through how that closed loop operates on a practical level.
Sure. So through those program advisory committees you mentioned, the industry communicates their immediate pain points directly to the college. They detail the exact software, the exact machinery, and the exact skills they are missing today.
Okay.
The college immediately builds those skills into the curriculum. Then, through the capstone projects and those subsidized co-ops, the students step directly onto the factory floor of a place like, say, Niagara Energy Products to apply what they just learned.
Oh, I get it. The business gets someone who is already trained on their specific problems rather than someone who just understands the theory of the problem.
Exactly. And if you run a business, you have probably felt that exact friction. You know, hiring someone who is great on paper but needs a year of hand-holding to actually become productive.
Yeah, everyone knows that pain.
Right. So the colleges are actively integrating themselves into the industrial supply chain. For the students, they graduate with tangible experience and a professional network.
And what about for the businesses?
For the businesses, it provides risk-free access to emerging talent. They get to basically test drive a future employee while solving real business challenges today. And those government grants you mentioned, they soften the financial risk of taking on a trainee in the first place.
Right, but to make a closed loop function smoothly like that, someone has to grease the wheels. You have the students, you have the factories, and you have the government funding. But those three entities speak entirely different languages.
They really do.
And that brings us to the Niagara Industrial Association itself, the NIA.
Yes. They are the central nervous system of this entire regional strategy.
Jordan Sherlock, the executive director of the NIA, gave an update on how they are connecting these disparate pieces.
Yeah, he had a lot to share.
He did. They recently co-hosted a defense sector workshop with the Niagara region to show local businesses how to get funding and actually enter Canada's defense procurement pipeline.
Which is traditionally very hard to get into.
Yeah. And they are also working on tapping into Western New York supply chains and actively looking at advanced manufacturing training center models down in the U.S.
They are hunting for solutions beyond their immediate borders
Yeah.
rather than, trying to invent every single solution in-house. It's very practical.
They are also getting executives on the ground with plant tours, like they had a recent one at Post Foods in Niagara Falls. And they are bringing in new board members to shift the association's focus heavily toward industrial manufacturing. But the part that really clicked for me was their role as a grant facilitator. They are actively helping businesses access the Tariff Impact Communities Fund, FedEv Ontario, and Canada's Summer Jobs Funding.
Yes.
It's like the NIA is acting like an API.
An API.
Yeah, like a software layer sitting between slow-moving government grants and fast-moving manufacturers who just don't have the time to fill out 50-page forms.
That is exactly what they're doing because the administrative burden of growth is a silent killer for mid-sized manufacturers.
Oh, I'm sure the paperwork is endless.
It is. A government program like FedEv Ontario offers incredible regional economic development capital, and the tariff impact funds are crucial for offsetting the costs of global trade disputes. But the compliance requirements, the application process,
That's a lot.
it's notoriously complex. The reporting metrics alone are exhausting. A company like AMI might be ready to innovate, but if their leadership team has to spend 3 weeks deciphering government compliance language, that innovation stalls.
Right, you can't be welding if you're filling out forms.
Exactly. So by taking on the role of grant facilitator, the NIA removes the friction between capital and execution.
They handle the bureaucracy so the manufacturers can actually manufacture.
Precisely.
I want to circle back to that defense sector workshop, though. Isn't banking on defense procurement incredibly risky for a local shop?
Why do you say that?
Well, I mean, the red tape and the security clearances are massive barriers to entry.
True. But the barriers to entry are precisely why it is valuable.
How so?
Relying entirely on one commercial sector or one local market leaves a manufacturing base highly vulnerable. An economic downturn in commercial shipping, for instance, could wipe out a local supply chain.
Ah, I see.
But the defense sector is highly lucrative and largely insulated from standard economic recessions. The procurement pathways are absolute mazes, which is exactly why most small to medium businesses avoid them.
So the NIA is acting as a guide through the maze.
Exactly. By actively training local businesses on how to navigate that pipeline, the NIA is providing a strategic buffer. They are helping these companies diversify their revenue streams so they can survive a recession.
Wow. And I guess connecting with Western New York supply chains serves a very similar purpose geographically.
It does. It creates cross-border resilience. We are seeing a massive global trend toward nearshoring right now.
Right, pulling away from overseas.
Yeah, companies pulling their supply chains out of overseas markets and bringing them closer to home to avoid the kind of disruptions we saw over the last few years.
Makes sense.
And Niagara manufacturers are geographically positioned perfectly to capture that demand from across the U.S. border. But a machine shop in Port Colborne might not know how to connect with a major contractor in Buffalo.
They wouldn't even know who to call.
Exactly. So the NIA facilitates those initial connections. Furthermore, by hunting for U.S. training models to solve the workforce crisis, the NIA is acknowledging that they can import proven best practices to keep their talent pipeline flowing.
Let's take a step back and look at the entire ecosystem we have mapped out today, because it's pretty impressive.
It really is.
We started with AMI, proving that the future of industry is high-tech, predictive maintenance, and serving as a bridge for global technology to enter the local market.
Right.
Then we looked at the physical geography. Half-empty shipping canals sitting right next to billion-dollar battery plants, representing this massive opportunity for a hyper-efficient, low-carbon supply chain.
Provided the ports adapt to handle these specialized logistics, yes.
Right, provided they build the infrastructure. Then we brought in the human element. Niagara College aggressively modifying the traditional education model, literally turning students into subsidized problem solvers for local businesses through real-time industry feedback.
That closed loop.
Yes. And finally, the NIA tying the whole machine together, acting as the administrative layer to unlock complex government funding and open up difficult new markets like the defense sector and cross-border supply chains.
It just demonstrates that regional survival is not about isolated wins. It is about relentless alignment.
Think about the supply chain in your own industry. Are you operating in a silo? Are you just trying to grow your one specific business, or are you actively tapping into local education systems, government capital, and industry associations to fuel that growth?
It's an important question because when we think of industrial infrastructure, we almost universally picture, concrete canals, shipping lanes, and robotic welders.
Yeah, physical stuff.
But looking at how the Niagara region is evolving, it forces a reevaluation. In the 21st century, the most valuable infrastructure might not be physical at all.
Really?
Yeah. The true infrastructure is the invisible network of relationships between the schools, the associations, and the businesses that keeps the entire machine from grinding to a halt.
The invisible network of relationships. That completely reframes how we should look at local development, and it is a really powerful thought to chew on as we wrap up today. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep looking closely at the systems around you, and we will see you next time.